Hi, I'm Mateo. Do you want to learn about Hidden Heroes? Hidden Heroes from A to Z is a cool book that tells the stories of amazing black heroes you might not know about. You'll meet inventors, you'll meet explorers, and leaders who change the world. It's fun, inspiring, and you can learn so much. Get your copy now at hiddenhistorymuseum.com. Let's discover our hidden heroes together.
All right, and for those who don't know, for those who are just coming in, this pastor had Trump at his church, I think in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. So this pastor has been in correspondence with the Trump administration. So we're talking about what Trump could do, if anything, to possibly garner the black vote. So that's what the conversation is going to be about, as it relates to the um, political atmosphere now, with Biden dropping out and Kamala Harris um, being selected as the main nominee for the Democrats. So we're trying to see where the pastor's coming from with his opinions, if we can get him up here.
Nikki, could you try to invite him up? His Twitter tag is politics in the pulpit. I've invited him a few times, but I'm not sure if my invitation has gone through.
Okay, he's the speaker now. There we go.
Okay, he's up here. Okay, good.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, brother, how are you?
It is well. It is well with my soul. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Pastor, how do we pronounce your last name, sir?
My last name is Sewell, like Jewel with an S, but you can just call me Pastor Zoe. It's real easy.
Pastor Sewell. Okay, Pastor Sewell is good. We're good. Okay. So now, Pastor, now Trump visited your church in Detroit, correct?
He did visit my church in Detroit.
Okay. Now, how'd you end up corresponding and kind of being connected with the Trump administration? How'd you end up hooking up with them?
Good question. Well, he reached out to me. Someone from his campaign reached out to me. I quite frankly didn't know if the gentleman had the ability nor the gravitas to bring the former president to the city of Detroit, but he did. And when the former president came, the caveat was he wanted to have a community roundtable with people from the community that were average, everyday people. On the west side of Detroit, we have a methadone clinic that shares a parking lot with us. That methadone clinic serves 500 people who are cross addicted for generations. So mothers, grandmothers, daughters, fathers, sons, grandsons, cross addicted. We do mental health seminars with that community, which is our community. And then also we have women that are being human trafficked are literally right next to us, where we pray with with our police department every year. We walk the streets, pass out hygiene kits. So we are in what I've said, notedly, the hood, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's where we are. And for him to want to come there, for me, first, I didn't know if it was even true,
Yeah.
to be honest. But he came, and it was an amazing time.
How did the community, how was their response to Trump coming down there?
Well, you got to understand, in our community, we have the largest group of Arab Americans about 10 minutes away from us. We had no issues because we love our community. Our church invested about $14.4 million in the last 4 years in partnership with several organizations into our community. My wife and I, we donate our salary to the community. We are a community-oriented church. We just don't serve Detroit. We serve Pontiac, Flint, Saginaw, some of the poorest cities in America. So the community, they came, they were willing to listen, and they were willing to ask questions.
Yeah. So with now that area of Detroit, it's a heavily Democratic area. A lot of people in that area vote Democrat. So did you get any pushback for having Trump come down?
Yeah, I got pushback from Trump coming down, but that's identity politics, right? That's
Right.
politics based on people's skin color, right? I don't care about that because I got kids carrying guns to get to school in Flint.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm dealing with every day. So I don't care about how people feel about me inviting somebody, because if you're drowning, if somebody's willing to throw you a life preserver, guess what? I'm going to grab it. I'm not going to say that you can't come if you're willing to help. I don't care what. You could be libertarian, you could be Democrat, you can be Republican. It doesn't matter to me because we're dealing with real life situations.
So a lot of people ask, how can Trump, what can he do to garner the black vote? Why should we because I'm not voting for the Democrats right now because I don't like none of their policies, but I'm not really too inclined to vote for Trump either because I have not seen anything tangible coming from the Trump administration. So what would give black people a reason to want to vote for Trump?
Yeah, one of the platforms for me in terms of why I would even allow former President Donald Trump to our church was something called the Platinum Plan. And the Platinum Plan, that is a plan that has been spelled out to help black churches, which I do believe that the black church still has influences. The only entity that we have in America that is essentially ours, that we are able to lead as a people. So the Platinum Plan and the numbers behind that plan has been something that I've looked at in terms of several different areas. The first area is 3 million new jobs for black communities, creating 500,000 new black-owned businesses, increasing access to capital in black communities by almost 500 billion, safe communities, right? And a commitment to the First Step Act. So there are several areas that for me, from those numbers, but if you would just sum it up, it would be help our black men get out of prison that shouldn't be in there. That's number one. Number two, and help our babies have access to education like they do in other communities. Because we scholarship 30 young people every year to Rochester Christian University in partnership with Rochester Christian University. And most of the young people that we scholarship, they're just not ready, right? So they'll get all A's in their respective schools in Detroit, Pontiac, Flint, and Saginaw, and then they'll get to university and they just have been undereducated. So that's some of the discussions that I've had and I keep having because I believe that's the way we can be able to make our community, right? We talk about make America great again. Well, I'm black, so I care about making Black America great again. And those guys, and I made it, and that was our conversation when he came to our church, 180 Church in Detroit.
So yeah, because I looked over the Platinum Plan thing, and there's a lot of little code words in it because you're saying that they're offering certain things for the black community, but when you look at it, it doesn't. Some of that stuff doesn't specifically say black community. It's like minority, distressed communities, things like that. So they use a lot of those tricky code words that the Democrats have used, and that has been somewhat problematic, right?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm building a relationship, right? Because we know politicians are politicians. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian. One of my desires in terms of being a black pastor in our communities that serve the least of these is to be an honest broker of
Hmm.
information and to build those relationships to be able to hold politicians accountable.
Yeah, my thing is, again, people are going to have to be a little more specific with the language because again, they'll stand there and do an optics sleight of hand trick. They'll stand there and say, we're going to give some money to distressed communities, and the Arab community is distressed, the Asian community could be considered distressed, the Hispanic community. So those are like kind of catch-all terms, and they'll use us as the mascots for those terms, and then they'll flip and then give those resources to other people. Let's get Brother Marcel to chop in on that. Brother Marcel.
Hello, Pastor Sewell. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me,
I'm
Marcel.
doing well. So you've been speaking, corresponding with my campaign manager, Oz, or I don't know if he's called Oz or Osric. I'm not sure which name he's giving you. But y'all have been speaking a lot.
Oh, give.
Huh?
Oh, it's been speaking to me.
Yes, my campaign manager, Oz. Y'all have been speaking, Oz or Osric or Mr. Pratt. I'm not sure what name he's giving you. But he's the one that has been contacting you about doing this space. That's my campaign manager. And
Got
yeah,
it. Got it. Got it.
I'm running for office here in South Carolina, and one of the reasons, well, first of all, you're right. We have to have relationships with people. I've been speaking with Dr. Daryl Scott off and on, but really he speaks with Oz more than he speaks with me. And you can, first of
Sure.
all, I'm a reparationist, and I know with Trump's base on Trump's side, Dr. Daryl Scott was like, it's not necessarily dead on arrival, but it'll be a very hard sell to a lot of Trump's fan base. I'm not sure if you and he were able to have a conversation about that. But before you even are able to speak on that, there is one thing that where Tariq was getting at. We have things to help the black community, quote unquote black, but we have to be more specific with language. So you can't really do things based on race. And see, that's where they get us. for like 400 years. Because your family, you are a descendant of enslaved, emancipated people here in America, right? Is that your background as well? Like your ancestors were enslaved and emancipated here?
I'm from the east side of Detroit. I don't know about all that part. I would imagine that, but I'm from the east side. That's where I was born.
Okay, so
I'm an American, and I happen to be black.
okay, so here's
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
Oh,
This is where I'm at. I'm
let's
sorry.
slow that down for a minute. Because your lineage is very important. Yeah, that answer right there is kind of strange. Your lineage, Pastor, are there any immigrants in your family?
My brother, my dad is in prison for murder.
No, no, no,
Okay.
no, no. Immigrants.
So hold
Immigrants in
on
your
for a
family.
second. Maybe I don't know if this how this conversation. I would like to stay focused, but my family has been broken,
Oh,
right? So I don't know who all is in my. Maybe you have,
oh,
and if you did, I'm trying to give that to my children. I don't know. So that's the answer to that question.
so
okay.
you okay, all right.
Well,
But
let me
you
say
don't
this.
know if
Like
there are any immigrants in your family. Okay, go ahead.
on the platinum plan, like Trump has the Department of African American Affairs. Well, when I spoke to Dr. Darrell Scott, if he tried to do something like that, immediately you'll have people challenging it with the 14th Amendment. So what I spoke to Dr. Darrell Scott about is something like the Bureau of Indian Affairs with Native Americans. Native
Sure,
Americans have tribal governments that's for their particular tribe. Like, the Cherokee have their tribe, the Muskogee or the Creek people have their tribe, the Chickasaw have their tribe, the Seminole have their tribe, and all of those Native American tribes have the various governments to serve their status, right? In America, we had something that was called the Freedmen's Bureau, and it was for the people who are the status that were specifically descendants of the emancipated. Because what they're doing now, we saw with affirmative action, in which affirmative action was not really benefiting the people for whom it was intending because they made it race-based, and as a result, it got shot down. What I was speaking with Dr. Darrell Scott about is that if we were to get our own department, it'll have to be done based on status. And I use the legislative term for those of us who are Black Americans, who are descendants of people who were enslaved and emancipated here in America, is freedmen. And we can get our own department and get a budget allocated just to specifically address our needs. And that is something that I think the Trump administration would be friendly to hearing. Dr. Darrell Scott, the closer they've gotten to the election, the busier that he's got it, and he hasn't been as available. But we've been building that conversation with him because the issues you've mentioned, I'm sure you are in Detroit, which is still an 80% Black city, and most of the people there are freemen, like they're Black Americans who came usually from the South, like Mississippi, Alabama. There's a lot of people in Detroit have lineage from there. And I'm sure a lot of those distressed communities, imagine if we had a department that was specifically tailored just to address our needs as freedmen. There are many Black people in America, but some of those Black people are not of our lineage, like a Jamaican American, Nigerian American. But those of us who are descendants of people who were emancipated here, we have like a special need. We have a special, unique history in this country, and as a result of our history, the issues that we see in our community, you can, with a dotted line, trace it back to the things that's been done to us, not just American slavery, but the Jim Crow, the racial massacres, lynch mob, redlining. You can name all those things. So one of the conversation I've been trying to have with Trump or even some of his advisors is instead of doing the Department of African American Affairs, a Department of Freedmen Affairs, because that way it won't be in danger of getting shot down because they'll say it's based on race. It'll be status specific, and it'll be something that'll be like a small government catered directly towards us. What do you think about that?
what do I personally think about it?
Yes.
I think it's a slippery slope, my brother. I mean, I really do, because for me, I believe anytime you take shekels, there become shackles, right? Anytime you get anything from the government, there's going to be something that's going to be tied to you. I believe we as a people have always been great, and we haven't needed nothing from nobody. When I look at Black Bottom, which was here in Detroit, when I look at Black Wall Street, right? When I even look at the 1,000 Black slave owners in Kentucky, right? Us as a people, we've always been a great people, right? So I personally don't, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just believe we need to be reinforcing the fact that we are already an amazing people. And all we need to do is bring our resources together. Dr. King, when he spoke in his last epic speech, when he talked about the mountaintop, right? The vision that he was painting, regardless of what people feel about King, the vision that he was painting in Memphis was a vision that Black people pull their resources together so we can be able to control our own buying power and our own destiny. And that's what I believe in. I believe churches should
But Dr.
consolidate. I believe that
Pastor Sorrell, you do understand Dr. King also said we need reparations and we need to go to Washington, D.C. to get our check. You know that, right?
I
Okay,
understand.
you know that. And by the way, Brother Sorrell, your name is Lorenzo. Are you Latino? You have Latino bloodline? Oh,
No, maybe, I
maybe.
don't know.
Okay. Because, sir, to be honest, you sound like you just don't have a lineage that goes back to freedmen in this country. You're not a descendant of freedmen, sir.
Doc, what does that have to do with
That
this
has everything
conversation?
to do with the conversation because if you're not of the lineage, you're not going to be an advocate for a justice that's owed and a debt that's owed to lineage.
And look,
That's very
I'm
significant.
listen. So for me, and if that's the way you're going, great. I mean, I'm not against what you're saying. I'm just saying, for me
Hmm.
personally, I've seen government issued uh, programs, and oftentimes our people don't have access to those programs for several different reasons. One of the main reasons is because of the stipulations, whether it's loans or whether it's access to capital, grants, right? Whether it's access to banking relationships. I work with entrepreneurs in my city that have boots on the ground, and that is a problem. What I'm saying is, if we stop spending our dollars in other places, practically we can spend our dollars amongst ourselves. That's the
Hey,
only point I'm
Pastor,
trying
so
to
let
make.
me say this. You
Okay.
mentioned resources. We're old resources. That's the thing behind the reparations push. And listen, I understand what you're saying. We are an incredible, great people. We've done incredible, great things. Those Black Wall Streets you mentioned, a lot of times they were destroyed, sometimes by outright violence that was
Sure.
backed by the government or by the FHA that put highways and railroads. Other groups have gotten repaired. They've gotten direct cash payments. You know, the intern Japanese, you know, the various Native American tribes who get settlements, which is really reparations, the downwinders, coal miners, fishermen, Iranian hostages, Guamanians. So I just want to be clear, we are old resources, but I'm not saying for us to rely on the government, but this is a government in a nation that was built by us, and this is a government that also has a responsibility to serve us well. I mean, think about it. That's only fair if anyone is owned by this government, it's us. But I'm not saying that we are going to quote unquote rely on the government, but we have a right to expect to be fairly fairly provided for by our government. And an office that's tailored for us, it won't necessarily be ran by the quote unquote government. The vision is like the Bureau of Indian Affairs. It will be ran by us and it will be used to address the issues that are uniquely, because we have a unique history again. It will be used to address the issues that's experienced by us. So it's not saying we're going to quote unquote rely on the government, but it's saying we're going to have agency within the government that's going to be for us and by us. And that is something, like I said, the Bureau of Indian Affairs have it. We have right now in Congress, we have a pact called APAC, which is very powerful, and they cater to the needs of Jewish Americans here in America and abroad. What we're saying is that if Trump, and by the way, you mentioned the platinum plan. This is on Trump's platinum plan. You just promoted the platinum plan as something that's good. This is on Trump's platinum plan. But this is just, I like the idea of Department of African American Affairs. Well, I'm saying we cannot do it race based. It has to be status in the status of freedmen, Department of Freedmen Affairs. This is on the platinum plan. This is the way where that idea can actually work. And before you speak, let me just make it clear to everyone. Pastor Sewell is not on Trump's team, okay? He's really just a person who has a relationship with the Trump campaign, but he's not a member of Trump's staff, just for anyone who's listening right now. I just want to make that clear to everybody.
Pastor Soul? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Can
we
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you now. We can hear you. Now, you said something earlier that I caught. You mentioned some black slave owners in Kentucky. Yeah. Now,
Sure.
what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of mentioning the black slave?
That black people have always been great, my
But
brothers.
but you
That's all I'm
mentioned
saying.
black slave owners. What was the purpose of that?
Because we have always been a great people. When you have a mind, the Bible says as a man
Wait,
thinks
hold
in
on,
his
wait,
heart.
let's slow down. That doesn't really connect. You mentioned black slave owners, and that gives a false impression that they were comparative to white slave owners.
No, that's not what I
Right.
said.
So black slave owners, what was the purpose of it? That's well, I'm trying to really get the correlation because that's kind of a talking point from a lot of white extremists, white extreme think tanks that they bring up slave owners who were black when really they were not comparable to white slave owners. They were usually black people who were buying their families out of slavery. So
Right.
yeah, we got to put that in context. But yeah,
Exactly.
when you say black slave owners, that's a red flag. That's almost like making them comparable to the white abusive slave owners, and black people were not on that. They would get their family members out of slavery. I just caught that now. That I just wanted to see what the purpose of that was.
What was the purpose was exactly what I said, right? That we're great
Hmm.
people. And as a group of people thinks, so are
Hmm.
they. I believe we have enough buying power right now together. I don't believe that reparations is a bad thing. I believe that anytime you look to anyone else for help or assistance outside of your own people group, for example, I'm in Detroit, but in Detroit, we have the highest population of Arab Americans. We have the highest population of Japanese Americans, right? We have a very high concentrated population of Jewish Americans. So, in the context where I stand right now, right, on Stansbury and Grand River, where I'm standing right now, where uh, two of my young people were just shot a couple days ago, where I stand today, the dollar that is spent in my community, it goes to my Albanian brothers for food. It goes to my Chaldean brothers for gas. It goes to my Caucasian colleagues for education. My whole point is this. My point is that we as a people can band together. I don't know where everybody else is from, and I respect where everybody else is from, but I'm in Detroit, right? And which was noted as the neediest city in America in 2001. When I look at places like Pontiac, Flint, Saginaw, I have my boots on the ground here. And I'm seeing it every single day. And I believe if we brought our resources together and we strategically work together, then of course, reparations, if that's something that we want to go for as a people, great. But I believe that we should have our own agenda. So whether you're Democrat or whether you're Republican, you know that we as a people have an agenda together, quite frankly, for the least of these and those that are affected by policies and politics more than any, and that's the
Right, and
poor.
now here's the thing: because some of those groups you named, the Arabs, they go to Detroit and they get benefits and they get unearned benefits. You have the Japanese; they've been compensated for a wrong that was done to them for a very temporary period of time. They were compensated for being put in internment camps, and they used the money and the reparations to further build their communities. And plus, they were not sabotaged like the black people were. I was born in Detroit, so I know Detroit very well. You had prosperous areas like Hastings Street and other areas where they just put freeways in deliberately to uproot, right, to
Sure.
those
Yeah.
black communities.
Black bottom.
Right,
Yeah.
and create the ghettos out there in Detroit, and then gut the communities of the resources there. You're not doing that, or they're not doing that to some of these other groups, and these other groups get all types of unearned benefits, and they're not sabotaged as the black community is. So we should. We don't have a choice but to look out for each other and to build on our own. We really don't have a choice. That doesn't negate the fact that we should have compensatory justice as well. We should be compensated for what the government has specifically done to target us and to drain and deprive us of the resources that are needed. That's what we're saying. So if you're going to talk about a remedy from a political standpoint, and black people are to be galvanized to support a political party, we want to know what they're going to do to rectify some of these specifically targeted injustices that has undermined us in the process of us trying to get ourselves together, because we're the only group that has been consistently targeted specifically for conditions to keep us in a certain position. So that just has to be addressed at some point. So when we start,
And I'm willing to have that
right,
conversation.
right.
So let me so with the influence that I have and the relationship that I have with the former president, who could be the next president, I'm willing to be held accountable to have that conversation. I don't have a problem with that. If we as a people feel like that's what we need to have conversations about, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I believe that there is a history of racist ideas against black skin. I understand it goes all the way back to Aristotle and our Puritan preachers, right? But at the end of the day, I want us as a people to have an agenda so that we can be able to move forward on whatever political party is in power, because then I believe that we will begin to believe about ourselves what Democrats and Republicans believe about us already, that our voice and our vote is the most powerful in this country. That's the reason why Joe Biden just came to Detroit. President Biden just came to Detroit, and former President Trump came within the same month, because they understand the power of the black voice and the black vote.
Mhm. And another thing why a lot of us are questioning lineage. Lineage is very important because a lot of people who come from an immigrant background, as our good brother Claude Anderson says, immigrants don't come over for opportunity. They come over for unearned benefits. They come over and get stuff when they get here. And when they get here and get stuff, they're not too concerned about the foundation of Black Americans getting what we're supposed to get because they already got theirs. So we
Sure.
start talking about what we need to get for ourselves, then we get this circular talk about, well, let's pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, and well, there's going to be some shackles and there's going to be some conditions. We get a lot of hemming and hawing, and then that raises a lot of antennas. So that's another thing. The lineage is very, very important because certain people who are not from our lineage, we have reservations about them acting as spokespersons for our lineage because that's just not going to work because we don't have the same camaraderie and melanated skin. That's not good enough. We have to share an ethnic lineage and an ethnic spirit and a common ancestry that makes us want to look out for each other and make sure that justice is served, and the debt that is owed from what happened to our ancestors, we're going to make sure that that is going to receive compensatory justice. Does that make sense?
No, that makes
All right.
complete sense. And I'm like for me, I'm listening. I've heard the reparation argument. I don't believe like the examples with the Native Americans. I completely get it. My passion is for those who are in my context, who are the least of
Right.
these. Now, some would say they're all of African descent, and I would concur, right? So I want to fight for those that don't have a voice, because that's what Jesus called me to
Mhm.
do.
Go ahead, Brother Marcel. Go ahead, bro.
And so, Pastor Soul, you're in Detroit, and I know you was like not being dependent on the government, which again we're not doing. So I'm glad you heard the reparations conversation, and you heard the Department of Freedmen Affairs, because Trump already has on the Platinum Plan Department of African American Affairs. But in order for something like that to stand constitutionally, has to be something that's done based on status. However, I do want to point out some things. If you look at the history of white Americans, especially in the Midwest where you are, like in the state of Michigan, a
Sure.
lot of white Americans were able to move out to the Midwest because of something called the Homestead Act.
I'm
The
very familiar
Homestead
with
Act
it.
of right,
Hmm.
the Homestead Act of 1862 that didn't end until 1976, that gave $10 trillion worth of land to white Americans. Then the GI Bill, which
I'm
Detroit.
very familiar. Yep.
Yes,
Sure.
the GI Bill, 15 million white veterans. My great grandfather is a World War II veteran. He's still alive. He's 100 years old. He didn't get the benefit from the GI Bill. The GI Bill is what they really credit with creating the middle class in America ultimately. 15 million white Americans became six-figure salary professionals, homeowners, car owners, received pensions, retirements. The New Deal, which excluded my great grandparents, all my great grandparents except one, all of them, though, it's my great grandfather still living. One great grandfather died in the 1960s, but all my other great grandparents didn't die until the 2010s. And the latest was my great grandmother, 2015 at 101. They all told me how they were excluded from the New Deal. I'm just giving examples of how the government help and government programs have helped launch others to the middle class. You mentioned Arabs and how I know Detroit has a large Arab population. Well, Afghani refugees right now, some that are in Michigan, they are getting housing and clothing and food and education and transportation and healthcare from the government right now because they were brought over from Afghanistan. And then Detroit, the auto industry. The government spent tens of trillions of dollars just saving the auto industry alone. So you see, when all these other groups have needs, keep in mind, they have not been through what the freedmen have been through in this nation. They did not go through the chattel slavery and not seeing a penny of the wealth. And then government sanctions. It's not about white people. This is about just government sanctioned harms that was done to a particular group. They didn't go through any of that, but they're getting the trillions of dollars from the wealth that was in large part generated from our labor. So the idea of America, reparations and payments to industries and individuals of certain statuses is not a new thing at all. So I'm glad to hear you will have that conversation about reparations and the Department of Freedmen Affairs. Because while I am aligned with Trump when it comes to his stance on mass immigration, speaking for me, that is something that really appeals to me because I know how harmful that is for the Freedmen foundational Black American community. It is going to take some actual policies directly for us besides that. Because his vice president pick, J.D. Vance talks about the white working class all the time. So if the white working class that has received way more help and way more was not terrorized by the government, if the white working class, they can acknowledge, needs help because of the collapse of the coal mining industry and the steel mill industry, how much more so will the population that for 400 years was literally terrorized by the government, and on paper, it didn't end until 1970. So I just want to make those points there.
Yeah, and a lot of those points are points that are not only well taken, obviously history has recounted those points to us. And my job as a pastor, as a spiritual leader, and one that the former president has reached out to, my job is to make sure that this gets in front of him with the aspirations and the longings of my people.
There it is. All right. All right, Pastor, it was very great talking to you. Very interesting insight there. When are you going to correspond with the Trump administration?
I'm on my way down to Florida right now, sir.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No. This is serious, man. Yeah, this is
Yes,
serious. You can send me an email. You know, I'm working with your people. I already know the conversation about reparations, but I'm on my way down there now.
Perfect. All right. Well, yes, indeed. Well, you got our information. You can reach out to us anytime. And if anybody from the administration would like to sit down and have a discussion and kind of have a powwow, a lot of us, me and some of the other influencers, we're definitely open to that.
Okay. If that's the case, then let me broker that conversation.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Well,
and Pastor Sewell, please send your email so we can do the correspondence, please. You can direct message us. Please do that.
Yeah. So the assistant that you say, he has my cell phone number. He can send me the.
Okay, you have it? Okay, good.
Yep. And I'll do all that right when I'm in the airport so we can get this going now.
Yes, indeed. My brother, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, Pastor.
Thank you for your time. This was so good. I'm willing to do this at any time, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, that was Pastor Lorenzo Sewell. All right, he's been corresponding with the Trump administration and all right, chopping it up with them. What's up, Black Alpha? Let's get some. We ain't gonna be out here too long because it's the middle of the day and I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of stuff. But let's get some of the callers in here. Let's get Ant CEO in here. Let's get Ant. And let's get Lion Legal. Let's get Lion Legal. Let's get Ant in here. Where you at, Ant? Oh,
Flex,
Ant.
what's going on? You hear me?
What's up, Ant? I can hear you, brother.
What's going on? I just want to be real quick. And nothing against him. I don't want to speak down on him, but I just found it funny how when you asked him, he didn't want to he didn't want to speak on the lineage part, but he was speaking about how we're such a great people, regardless of the fact, as if like the reparations thing was something that we shouldn't worry about. But at the same token, talking about the government handout, you're speaking about a platinum plan that you want from the government, which is a handout again. So I don't know. I just think it's weird for you to like knock down when we talk about reparations and something like that, but then you still want something from the government. I don't know. I just thought that was weird. And then everything just kept basing back on the religious talk, which I get it. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, we have a tangible need, you know what I'm saying? And religion, I mean, we get it, that's a faith-based system, but it's not anything that has to do with us specifically because the religion does not trump our connection with our lineage and things that we need tangibly. So I don't know. I don't know. I just hope whenever he talks to Trump or whatever he's doing, I hope if he gets back to y'all, make sure, because the conversation needs to be lineage-based reparations, not on no skin color. That needs to be like stood on. So that needs to be explained to him, because I think it's some. I don't want to knock him because maybe he just don't know. So we got to give people grace, but it needs to be stood on that. Hey, this is lineage based. This is not a skin color. So that's all I wanted to say. I'll land my plane.
Thank you so much. All right. Man, interesting. Very interesting conversation with the pastor. Let's get Miss T. Let's get Miss T in here. Miss T.
Hey, Tariq, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tariq, thank you for this opportunity to listen to this young man.
Mm-hmm.
I did get tether vibes, and I'm glad you were taking the questioning the
Mm-hmm.
way that you did, because he was not resonating with the traumas and the atrocities and the plight of the Black American freedmen here on this land. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a man that we don't need to represent us at anybody's table that has the authority to grant power. He then tried to belittle our reparations request, while at the same time saying things about other groups who have received government funds, have received repair. But for us, it's just you got to pull your resources together. You can't pull together what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for this, Marcel, Nikki the God, and Tariq. I appreciate you.
Thank you so
Tariq,
much.
may I say real quick, when he
Go
spoke
ahead.
with my campaign manager, he said he was a freeman, like he's a descendant of people who were enslaved here. So I was a little
Yeah,
surprised he wouldn't
I don't
answer your
believe.
question.
Yeah, I don't believe that by what he was saying. Yeah, yeah, because he damn near got offended when we asked the lineage, and that I'm like, oh, that kind of threw me off. Yeah. When I asked, do you have any immigrants in your background? He was like, well, I don't know. No, no.
His wife is of immigrant background, I believe. She's an Asian woman, but he kind of broke his lineage down. He spoke to my campaign manager that his family members are from, I forgot where, but he said, he's a descendant of people who were enslaved here. So I was a little weird when he did it. I don't know why he did that, but he was pretty forthright with it when my campaign manager really spoke with him.
Yeah, I don't. I think my guy has an immigrant background. Yeah, because yeah, we don't really get too confused about our damn lineage. We know where we're from. We know where our family is from, and we know whether or not we have immigrants in the family or not. So yeah, that kind of threw me on a loop when he was like, he don't know. I don't know. Average, where you at?
I'm right here, man. Just got my other profile sacked. This is my new profile. I'm back as the average FBA. Love the conversation. I've been noticing right now with this whole push for Kamala, unfortunately, that they're trying to separate us. Black men and black women, they starting early.
Oh yeah.
And, somebody made a great point, which is don't be afraid to be the villain don't be afraid to be the villain this time, black man. Was that Marcel? Did you say that? You said
Yeah,
that,
that's
didn't
me.
you?
And they've been calling me all kinds of bullet bags and cools. I'm just loving it and drinking those tears. But yeah, that was me.
That was that was perfect. That was perfect. And we can't be afraid to stand our ground, because they're trying to separate us, and we can't allow it to happen. The people that are marching out the most, though, of course, are Black American appearing people who don't even have our same lineage, trying to guilt us into voting for Kamala, whose lineage is obviously, we just say it's shaky at best. But she's Asian. She's Asian.
Right.
And it's unfortunate they're causing this separation. Please, everybody, follow me who follow my old page. If you still love your boys, still follow me, please. And thank you so much, Tariq, for letting.
There you go, brother. You broke up at the last part, but yeah, this whole thing with Kamala, yeah, they're really trying to. They throwing that black word around with her. Oh, black, black. Oh, black. The black women gonna really vote. I don't know about them black men though. Them black men be hating on the black girl magic. Black. I don't want to hear none of that black stuff. Oh, Kamala only gets black around election season. I'm not trying to hear none of that. She better make some tandoori chicken and go and sit down somewhere. I'm cool. Let's get watching anonymously.
Tariq, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, Nikki.
I wanted to let everybody know how important it is that they not just say Black American, that you say foundational Black American.
Yeah.
There's a new trend going around and it's beautiful. I'm sure someone in our reparations circle started the trend. I'm almost certain. I'm not sure if it was, I'm not sure who did it, but they're saying they're showing pictures of beautiful foundational Black American women, and they're saying, I am a Black American woman and I will not be voting for Kamala Harris. Now, if you, I'm not trying to get everybody to look at my page, but if you look at my page, you'll see where there's a woman. She's like an immigrant with a Jamaican flag, and she says, I'm a Black American woman and I will not be voting for Kamala Harris. We have to be very careful that we do everything in our power to delineate. We cannot, we have to cross all our T's and dot all our I's, whether somebody has an issue with somebody because they don't like the person who created the term foundational Black American. That doesn't matter. We don't want to leave any spaces open for immigrants to say that they are the same as us. Next thing you know, they're going to be saying, hey, let's all go to the Republicans and say, hey, we all should receive reparations. And I land at that.
Thank you, dear. Let's get watching anonymously.
Thank you for taking my call, Tariq. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
I know you've been on here for probably over an hour. Did you get a chance to take a look at that body cam video they just released of that sister who got shot in the head by that police officer?
No, I haven't.
Man, it's infuriating, bro. That's so any political party, Democrat or Republican, who wants us to vote for them, but we can't even get protection from the people who we pay our taxes to protect us, don't deserve our vote. I don't care if they give us reparations or not, because like you said, whether they do or not, that sends a message to us that we are we got. So either way, in the long run, we gonna win. But when you get a chance, you should really take a look at that video because it was blatant murder, bro. And it's just real sad that we still have to go through this. And I hope he should get the death penalty, but I don't think they have it in Illinois. But all hell should break loose if we don't get justice for that sister, bro.
I mean, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. All right, let's get lineage. Well, hold on 1 second. Lineage over melanin.
What's good, fam? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I'm from New York. Shout out to you. Got a chance to go to the screening. I was going to go to the second one as well. We've seen the shit that the Latinos are doing. So, but shout out to you for everything and all that you're doing. Yeah, I just wanted to come up and say, when you asked that brother, where his lineage is from, and he got to hemming and hawing, like that's exactly what we go through here in New York. In fact, as we're advocating for New York reparations here and doing everything to make sure they stay on lineage business, there was a senator that I had a personal conversation with in Albany. His name is Kevin Parker. And we had a conversation about delineation. And he actually was using the term foundational Black American. And so when we started talking, I was telling him how we need to delineate. He was coming up with all type of excuses on why we should not. And what I come to find out is I was looking through some of the past tweets of this brother that's promoting that call that they're going to have tonight with Roland and them. And come to find out, this dude from 2015, when they did a roll call of all the Caribbean politicians in the New York State legislature, and this dude, Kevin Parker, is a Jamaican. But when we had that conversation in Albany, he was telling me that he was a foundational Black American. So this is the things that they're doing all around the country, especially here in New York, that when they're looking to undermine what we're trying to do legislatively.
Man, good looking out, man. Listen, family, I keep telling y'all, family, you got a lot of $5 FBAs out here now. We told people a lot of folks are going to start cosplaying as foundational Black Americans. We got to watch folks and watch what they say and watch their language. When you ask them certain questions, their body language starts tensing up and they start twitching and hemming and hawing and start sounding weird. We got a lot of that, especially people connected to some of these political parties on both sides, on the Democrats and the Republican side. I'm telling y'all, around this time, people are going to be out here covering their hairlines. They're going to rinse the little Jol off their fingers. They're going to be out here cosplaying majorly, talking. They're listening to our talking points, trying to tailor a manufactured lineage. Yes, yes, nigga. I'm FBA too, nigga. I'm from Mississippi. You know, it's that type of thing. And then when you start asking specific questions, they start talking in circles and babbling because they can't answer certain things. See, this is what we know. Some of these people ain't from our lineage just by the way they react to certain questions. And as we've said, people who are not from our lineage shouldn't really be our spokespersons, because you're not going to really speak in what's the best interest for us as a lineage. You're going to speak to what's in the best interest of immigrants on both sides. You understand? So we got to be very careful about this. Let's get Brother Ty in here. I'm not going to be on too long, guys. I get a couple more calls and I got to be up out of here. Brother Ty, what's up, sir?
So when you asked them about black slaves, I land my plane.
Yeah, that was another red flag. When he mentioned black slave owners, and I kept asking, what do you mean by that? He kept kind of talking in circles. Oh, okay. All right. That was kind of odd. That was odd, bringing up black slave owners. A lot of y'all didn't catch that. I caught it, and I wanted to elaborate on that. Because when people bring up black slave owners, that's kind of a way to make them comparable to white ones, and it wasn't the same. The black so-called slave owners were buying their families out of slavery. They would buy their wives, their daughters, their sons, their parents. They would buy their people out of slavery. So they technically owned them on paper as a way to protect them status-wise. So you got to put all of that in context. Let's get Brother EJ. I know EJ's about to clown. Brother EJ, what's up, sir? EJ, what's up, brother? How are you, EJ?
I'm doing good, man. He really threw me off. I was trying to figure out what was going on with him. We was talking about the black slaves. You know how when you be cutting a Nigerian's head, it just went all over the place when he just said that. So, and when you was questioning him about his lineage, he was real tense because as a foundational Black American or with freedman lineage, or even if you're an immigrant, you know where your people come from just by looking at your family members and knowing the history of where your people come from. So that was very disingenuous of what the brother was saying. So I just wanted to land my plane there. Salute to you.
Thank you, brother. Family. I mean, not trying to beat up on the guy, because look, we're open for conversation. But family. You ask the foundational Black American, hey, where's your family from? Hey, man, North Carolina, Alabama, especially if you're from Detroit. Most of the people in Detroit, the families from Alabama or Mississippi, because we'll do those great migrations, and usually you just do a straight line up from Alabama, straight line up from Tennessee. You just shoot right up the freeway and going up there and work at them factories. That's the story of a lot of foundational Black Americans and how we got to Detroit. My mother and father, both from Alabama, went up there, settled, and had me in Detroit, and we would go back and forth to Alabama all the time. So us, you don't not know about your lineage. That's weird. Let's get Percy Earl in here. Let's get Percy Earl in the building. Mr. Percy Earl.
Hey, what's going on, Tariq?
What's up, brother?
Hey,
How
what's
you doing,
going
man?
on? I'm doing good. Just got off a 16-hour shift, man.
Oh, damn.
Man.
They had you
But
working.
yeah, I do water heater installation, man. I had to pull a boiler in a hospital, so you know how that go.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I got on right in time to hear you and that guy. I was like, what is talking about slaves? What does that have to do with anything? But I'm glad you caught him on that, because that'll be the type right there. He'll get up in there with them. You thinking he on our side? He'll be up in there talking about, well, you don't need reparations. We need to
Right.
pull ourselves up by the bootstrap. But
Right.
I land my plane, man. Everybody have a good day. Y'all be safe.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying, because yeah, this guy's supposed to be some kind of liaison, and I don't want him going to no politician saying, yeah, I had a conversation with some people, some influencers in the black community, and we come to the consensus that we don't need no we don't need reparations. We need something. We need to pull ourselves up out of bootstraps. That's what I told them. We don't need to be begging these good white peoples. There was black slave owners too. See, that's why you got to catch that stuff. You got to catch it and check them because they're going to go back to the white people and give a summary of the conversation as if we were on the same page with a lot of this stuff that was being said, and we are not. You understand? We are not on. I'm not on the same page with none of that. You see? So this is why we got to be very clear and concise, and we got to understand who's going to act as spokespersons or representatives. Mr. Fax, hop on, sir.
Hey, what's up, brother? I'm calling from Ireland. No, man, I really like your stuff. There's no hate coming from this side. I listened to you before, back in the Mac days. You've got some solid advice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ireland, man. Are you in Ireland now?
No, so I'm working in Manchester in the UK.
Okay.
There's one debate you have to run back. You have to run back the Andrew Schultz debate. I think it demolished them, but that needs a round two, I think.
Well, shout out to Andrew Schultz. All right. But thank you so much, bro. Thank you. Go eat you some Lucky Charms or something. Let's see who else we got. Let's see who we got. Let's get one more. Again, I got stuff to do. I think my daughter's waking up. Let's get brother. Let me see who we got.
Let's get East Siders up.
Oh yeah, there he is. Okay. Let's get Eastside in. Eastside, what's up, brother? Eastside, unmute your mic, sir.
Unmute your mic, East Siders.
Uh-oh.
Unmute your mic.
There
Go
he
ahead.
I got you. I appreciate that, man. Hey, I want to give you give all of y'all flowers, the host and co-host. Tariq, you've been out in LA long enough to know what a pack out is.
Mm-hmm.
You packed this dude out without even trying. You and Marcel, y'all actually got to the point y'all was keeping him in the corner with these questions, and he had no way out of it. Appreciate what y'all doing. Y'all keep up the good work. I'll do what I can to help on the ground. What I can, I do in spirit. I'll land there.
My man, thank you so much, East. All right, fam. But anyway, let me shut it down, man. I'm gonna come on later on tonight, man. We'll chop up some game later on, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in right now. Go to rootworkstyle.com, microphonecheck.com, and donate to the Hidden History Museum at hiddenhistorymuseum.com and get the children's book at hiddenhistorymuseum.com. All right, y'all have a great afternoon. Peace.